exerted it is through the mouth. So at this stage, a child uh, encounters with a conflict, that is weaning off breastfeeding. What happens is, when we try to weaning off the breastfeeding abruptly, or if it prolongs for a very long time, it may lead to certain kind of challenges in the child later on in life. It so it has to be made sure that whenever you're doing your weaning off the breastfeeding, it has to be gradual, and it has to go hand in hand with uh, with the way the child is responding to it. If the child is not ready, we cannot push them, because it may lead to other challenges in their life, right? So some of the things that the child may be facing here is developing an oral aggressive personality, where the child is starting to develop teeth, and because of the aggression or frustration that is being developed during the process of weaning, it might the child might bite or bite off mother's breast and show the aggression, which may continue even in their adult life, where they become a person who gets disturbed or irritated very easily, and try to abuse or engage in a lot of verbal aggression, right? Apart from that, things where they're trying to seek pleasure from their mouth, where they might start with smoking, nail biting, finger chewing, thumb sucking. So all this happens particularly in response to stress in their life. Anytime there is some anxiety and they are unable to cope with it, they go back to behaving in a manner in which they did as a child, that was trying to bite off, trying to bite the mother, or trying to eat a lot. So sometimes overeating is observed in these children or adult in later on in life, right? So it is very very important that the child is not facing any kind of conflict in this frustration, conflicts, and fixation in this particular area, because it is going to go a very long time in their life. So this is about what are the conflicts. We can go back. There are a few points I would like to cover, Joshua. So this is about the conflicts that are arising in the child's life, right? When there is a frustration that has been developing, the child shows these kind of aggressive behavior, or not being able to cope up with the weaning of breastfeeding. However, if the child is able to resolve this conflict and has been gradually weaned off, uh, from breastfeeding, he would be able to have a very secured personality, which in later on in life you would see, like sharing their blanket with let's say a 5-year-old, sharing the security blanket with some other person, and not feeling bad about it, not feeling bad about losing something which was so important for them. Or a person at the age of 26 who is able to be okay or manage the stress that has come from losing a partner to some other competitor or another guy. So these are the things, the situations where there is a lot of anxiety in an individual's life, and the base or the coping skills that they need, how to deal with all the stress. According to Freud, this starts at a very early stage in a child's life. So we can move on forward. Next is the anal stage, where the primary focus is in seeking pleasure through the anus, where the child tries to reduce all the tension which he or she is experiencing in the body through urinating or defecating. So it's also a stage where parents will be trying to toilet train the child. It is one of the conflicts that the child would face, where the parent is demanding to make sure that the child is releasing, or the defecating, or uh, holding till the time proper facilities, toilet facilities are provided to them. That is what toilet training is actually about, that the child is able to hold on for some time. However, if there is a lot of harsh treatment or forcing that is happening on the parent side, the child faces a lot of frustration and not being able to manage the situation. So he might try to hold back or not defecate at all, because of the response he or she is receiving from the parent. This again tends to have a long term effect on the child, where they would develop a personality which is anal retentive personality, where the child would be seen trying to be very controlling and not trying to share their things or emotions with other people. There is other situation, that is the child may develop an anal sadistic personality, where they are not able to they are very miser or being very spendthrift. Basically, when in this stage of life, the child is developing the understanding of how to manage their internal environment based on the outside circumstances, because the child is expected to hold on to their bowel movement till they are able to get a toilet facility. And if they do not fulfill this demand, they would face certain circumstances from their parents or a lot of aggression. So to avoid this, they might try to hold back. This particular coping skill or way of managing stress that happens will continue even in further in their life, in their adulthood, where they try to control things, or whenever they are very anxious or stressed, they will move to, or go forward and go about cleaning and being very orderly, instead of fighting the problem or finding a solution. They will just try to make sure everything is clean and in order, because that is what was expected of them at this particular stage, like the inner stage. They were expected that they do not make a mess, or even if they had to poop, right? So the characteristic tendency to deal with stress in this particular stage would be them becoming very very angry or disturbed by any small thing that happens, getting easily frustrated, and being very very inflexible. They are not ready to accept to changes around them. So this is some kind of personality which develops due to obstacles or conflicts in the anal stage. We can move forward. So next one is a phallic stage, which would last from the age of 6 to 7 up to puberty. Here, the erogenous zone or the sense of pleasure is through self-stimulation, and mostly in the genital region. Here, the child is able to explore their body parts and understand that they are seeking pleasure through their genitals, and so you may end up seeing them stimulating them a lot. However, this stage would be like would fade off as the boy or the girl is able to resolve conflict which arises in this stage. So the conflict that a boy or a girl faces at this stage is different. So according to Freud again, this the boy is facing a conflict where they're trying to seek pleasure from the from the mother, because she has been the object of or the source of pleasure up till now, because she has been, feeding them. She has, given her all the food and responded to her cries. She has helped him to, to get toilet trained and take care of all these needs. Therefore, the boy is still trying to seek pleasure from the mother. Also, he tends to have this feeling of, you know fighting his father, because the child might feel that if I am trying to seek attention or all of the attention from my mother, the father would feel angry upon me and he might try to punish me. Hence, the competition, there is this conflict which arises about having excess attention towards the mother, but also having a rivalry or a competition with his father. The boy later on happens to develop a personality or an understanding that yes, I need to follow my father and, go about being with him and not really have all of the attention from my mother. It would be, just part of it. So this particular conflict is also known as Oedipus complex, yeah, where if the child is not able to resolve this particular conflict and is obsessed with mother at some times, it would lead to the child, in his adulthood, he may try to find a partner who is very much similar to his mother, right? So this obsession with mother does not go. However, on resolving this particular conflict and frustration, the child is able to follow the gender specific role, and he understands here what are the expectations from him as a boy, and they tend to follow the father, not only his, way of dressing up and attitude, but also his characteristics and his way of dealing with situations. Boys hence try to pick up easily upon what their father, is like a person, or how does he deal with problems, or how does he deal with women or his mother, right? So this is where, in this particular stage, the child develops the sense of, understanding of what behaviors are expected from them based on their gender, right? On the other hand, for a girl, the conflict is about seeking pleasure from, the opposite gender parent, that is her father, versus the possibility of making her mother a rival. Because again, if she is trying to seek pleasure from her father, or all of his attention, there is this. Hello, am I connected?
Yes, no. Yes, you're connected now.
There's a call. Yeah. Okay. So, so at this stage, the conflict about the girl is seeking pleasure from her father, but also at the same time not upsetting her mother, because her mother has been the source of pleasure for her all this while, be it again, about the breastfeeding or giving her all the food whenever she cries, also helping her with the toilet training. So it becomes difficult for the, for a girl to deal with this situation where there is a conflict between the pleasure seeking from father and rivalry with the mother. However, the resolution for this particular conflict, which is also called as Electra complex, happens when the girl understands that, I cannot have all the attention from the father, and, it has to be equal. And that is when she tries to copy her mother or understand the gender specific role of a girl and adopt all the motherliness or all the characters, attitude, and behavior of her mother. This is also a stage where the child understands a lot of social norms, because, one, where they are trying to adapt to the gender specific role they have. Two, they also try to understand that, if everything that happens around me or everything that I want cannot be mine, and I have to make certain adjustments and adapt to the environment. So this is also an understanding that the child gets from this stage. However, failing to which the child may have difficulty in his adulthood, where for a girl there would be a phallic personality which may develop if she's not able to resolve the conflict, uh, where she might develop a dominating personality towards men, being very aggressive or humiliating towards men, um, or for men who are not being able to resolve the conflict at this stage and having obsession towards their mother may develop perversion as well. So not understanding their behaviors, or when would it be offensive to for a woman when they are trying to approach them sexually. So we can move on. Next is the latency stage, which I'm sorry. So the phallic stage, it happens from 3 to 7 years of age, and this stage, the latency stage, is from the age of 7 up till the puberty, which is called time of peace, or also dormant stage, because uh, in this particular stage, according to the theory, there is not a lot of dramatic change or a focus of psychic energy anywhere in the body. However, the energy which is actually there would be channelized to the child's cognitive, social, and emotional development at this point of time. They may also be suppressing the desire for self-stimulation that happened in the previous stage, and go forward with their life, the school, uh, going and playing activity, playing games and activities. However, at this particular stage, they will understand their gender roles, and so the friends that they make would be of same sex. Hello? Yeah. So at this particular point, they know who are their friends, and like they develop the sense where they know, they if they're a girl, they have to be with a group of girls. And hello. So as I was saying, so here the child is uh, able to understand what particular gender they belong to, and they start behaving in the same manner and try to play games or activities which is specific to their gender based upon their culture, and also may be shifting little far away from the opposite.
वो ब्लू वाला स्पीकर देना मुझे.
Hello. Yeah. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So in the genital stage, which is the last stage according to Freud, here the child is able to get back and have an expression of the sexual energy in the way of interacting to people, and not focusing anymore on themselves and self-stimulation. The child will be now able to leave their family back and friends back, and then they go forward to find partners with seeking long-term relationships. Here, however, since it's the last stage, there is no fixation that occurs. However, but if at this particular time, which is post their teenage or like in early 20s, if the child is not being able to find an appropriate partner or develop into relationships or friendships with the opposite gender, there are certain difficulties which the adult might develop in having relationships even in future. And that is something they which can be resolved, and it's not a fixation per se. So in the latency stage and in the general stage, there isn't any fixation as such, or challenges that they face compared to the initial three stages. Here the child is also, the adult at this particular stage is also expected to understand and make sense of the life around them, and have a socially approved way of making relationships and not engaging in ways that would be offending, like offensive. For example, in the phallic stage, where the child might engage in self stimulation, where he or she may not be aware of what is happening. So now the energy, which sexual energy which has been coming out, is not auto erotic, but more so it is very much in control and manageable by the individual. So this particular stage teaches the child to take charge of different aspects of their life, be it their work front, their relationships, or the family. Yeah. Can we have the next one? So all this while, what we were talking about was definitely for neurotypical kids, and what are the stages that was defined for them particularly, and the challenges that they face, and how these challenges cause difficulty later on in their adult life as well, and cause difficulties or success in their personality development. Here are some issues that I would like to talk about, which is faced by children with developmental challenges, right? So, as we saw, in the theory, that there is a lot of psychic energy or conflict which is there for all of the children, and they would be trying to deal with them, manage with them, and learn different coping skills as they grow. With children with developmental challenges, the manifestation of intrapsychic conflict is even high, and it leads to shame, sometimes isolation, where the child is not able to share or help other people understand what they are going through, or not being able to have as many friends, or having the same kind of lifestyle that other people maybe have, owing to like the communication skills or social skills. There is also limited understanding of their own sexuality. Now this may happen because the child is seeing other people around,
first of all
and
bed पे
the
बैठे थे
understanding.
जैसे लुधियाना में बैठे
I think someone's mic is on. Yeah. So the manifestation of the psychic energy in children with developmental challenges leads to a lot of shame, isolation, and limited understanding of their own sexuality, where they are unable to know or understand what the sexuality is, because the only understanding that they have is through the observation of other neurotypical children and adolescents growing around them, which may not be the right one. So they are highly dependent on something which which will not give them a good idea. For example, if a child is, he or she can be bisexual, or if he's a male or a female, he needs to have people around them to help him understand what is his sexuality and what are the things that person with this particular gender does or feels or does when he has certain sexual urges. Also, another thing that is very common with children with developmental challenges or with any difficulties, there is an increased level of sexual abuse and sexual assault. This particularly is seen because of lack of sexual knowledge or sex education, and inability to share or talk about this to their parents and express what is happening with them. There is also another difficulty that they might face as to not being able to express their if they don't want something or if they are uncomfortable, they are not able to express it at times. And this is very much uh, like has been the cause for a lot of sexual abuse happening with children with developmental challenges, which in turn causes a lot of loss of confidence. And later on in their life, if they try to get into relationships or have sexual uh, relationships, there is a lot of dissatisfaction that they may face because their first encounter with these experiences has been very disturbing and they cannot make any sense out of it. Can we move to the next one? So there is definitely a need for attention to help children understand about their sexuality, their psychosexual development, and understanding what is going on with their body and their mind, and how it may be different from the children or people around them, right? So explaining them, understanding them, helping them to ask questions about their self is something which is very important. Also supporting the child and seeking professional help, be it from an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, a psychologist, a counselor, to help dealing with anxiety at any of these stages where they are, let's say, not able to overcome be able to stop being breastfed, or for example the child is being very fuzzy during the toilet training and he just does not want to follow. So there is a lot of anxiety and frustration that the child goes through, and hence it would be best to seek help at such a time. Another thing which is very very important is to impart sex education to children and also help them develop certain basic communication skills in order to express about any discomfort that they feel, or any urges that they are having, and about what are the things that are happening with them when they go outside, how are people behaving with them, and if there has been any instance where they have been looked upon in a bad manner, they have been touched upon in a bad manner, how do they come to you and talk about it? Like seeking help from a speech therapist, or trying to help the child understand, or giving them some safe word and letting them have a tool or an equipment to express when things are not going well with them. Because once this happens and the child is not able to express it, it will cause further anxiety in them and leading to other mental disorders further on in life. Therefore, trying to make the child very much aware about what is going on with them and around them, and also helping them have the tool to express themselves, be it about good or bad experiences that they are having about their own body or sexuality. The other things that also due to the lack of sexual knowledge or inability to go ahead with sexual expressing their sexual needs, it is seen that children, like adults with developmental delays or difficulties or challenges, are not given the right to, or give the freedom to have a relationship, or also express themselves sexually. So it becomes very, very important to understand that they also have these urges, even if they are not able to express it. They would be needed to taught about how to express it in the right way, and explaining them what is proper time and proper place to express it. However, not allowing them or not giving them the right to express these needs would be unfair for them. So I think that is something I wanted to definitely speak about today. I would like anyone, if any one of you have any questions regarding the theory or any other doubts, please go ahead.
Can I speak?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
See, this is about, I run an NGO for special needs children called as a Foundation with all types of disabilities. Like, we come across children, most of them with self-stimulatory behaviors. Now we have understood the reason why this could have happened. Now that they are in their adolescent stage or the adulthood, how do we actually handle them is a big question that is in front of us. All the teachers face a problem in the classroom. Like teaching them that there is a place for this, there is a time for this, that keeps happening. But in spite of that, the urge is too much, that more so in boys and less number in girls is what we have seen. So is there something that you could share with us about your experience or knowledge on this?
So thank you for asking this question, Sudha ma'am. I would like to tell you that whatever we spoke about, the theory that spoke about today, is one of the perspectives that we try to apply to understand children, and the stages of development. However, when you talk about children having self-stimulatory behavior in their adolescence, there are different things that might be affecting them. One would definitely be, still they are not able to get out of their adolescence yet, right? There is a delay in the stage because of not being not able to resolve the conflicts that we saw. Another thing also could be some sensory need that they have, because of which they are doing this. And you can definitely have some help from the OT or occupational therapist over here. And we can, I think they would like to add some points. Joshua?
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to add something to the same?
Yeah, but I think the occupational therapist would be the ideal people to answer this. Just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Archana, can you hear me? Okay, so maybe she's not available. Maybe we will answer back to her regarding the same. Ms. Sudha, may you can please leave your email ID or something in the chat box. Okay, we'll just get back to you on this.
Sure. And
Yeah.
there's another question also.
Yes.
Like, sensitizing the family. We handle mostly people from the from very poor economic background, sensitizing them and making them understand about the needs, about the physical needs of this child according to their age. It's really difficult to make them understand, because one is they're already struggling in their life. Second thing is this doesn't make any sense to them at all. So the
Right.
constant complaint from them is this guy, he doesn't know what to do where, and all those things. But when we try to talk to them that they definitely need a place for this and a time for this, and it should be given importance, they are not able to really understand this. Now with families who are educated, even with them it's like a taboo. They feel there's something wrong which they do and it should not be encouraged. They try as much as possible to discourage them from doing it, not understanding the concept of time out. So that aspect also can just throw some light on us or some help for us.
So, if it is regarding the self-stimulatory behavior that you're referring to again, so there are certain workshops that can also be held for these children if again the parents are allowing you to, right? So helping them understand what is happening, what is going on with their body, and what is the effect of certain behaviors that they have when it is happening in the public, right? And also helping them understand that, okay, this is the time where we are giving you, and you can do it as much as you want, and once that time is done, you know let them know that this is not the place that you do it. Anytime you do it, anytime you want to do it, you can just go to this place, or you want to go to the bathroom, any place private, and use it. So having certain workshops, a detailed workshop, you can definitely seek some professional also to do so, right? Where they are helping the children understand everything in depth, where they also have questions but they do not know where to ask them, because it's a kind of question which the parents would not answer, and if they keep randomly asking it, they would be scolded for the same, and they'll have to shut up. So trying to help them understand it better, answering their questions, and definitely trying to give them timeouts at some point of time if it is too much and out of control. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Hello.
Yeah, it does. And we have specific place allotted for this, private place allotted for this purpose in our institutions, in our various centers, and we
Okay.
call it as PO, so that anybody mentions this word, they know where the children should be taken to. And we have specific, we say 10 minutes will be the time that you can have, and after 10 minutes we knock the door and we ask them to come out, and then after the hygienic thing they can come back to the classroom. Now all this is possible in the institution.
Yes.
When they're taken home, it's just the opposite, and the
Right.
aggressiveness increases because of that, especially children who have behavioral issues, and for them the aggression increases because of this primarily. So no, the thing is that we should definitely address this as a major concern when we talk
Yes,
about children with difficulties.
Yes, ma'am.
exactly.
Sir,
Thank you so much.
one of my other colleague wants to answer your other question. Okay, 1 minute.
Sure.
Priya?
Yeah. Hi, Mrs. Sudha. So I actually work in conducting parental programs for children with autism and any other form of developmental disability, and help them understand. And we are a part of a huge panel where we deal with adolescents and teens when they are going through this transition. Now, when you asked what strategies can be used if the child is, say, self-stimulating a lot in the classroom and in public places, one of the primary things is many a times this information reaches the parents very late. And because teachers know that this is a behavior that is anticipated in this age group, they try to curb it, or they try to address it in the classroom scenario itself. So one of our primary suggestions is to call parents for a meeting with the child and start discussing certain other behavioral aspects. See, because if the child is showing sexual behaviors in the classroom, that also means that there might be some other forms of presentations that he's probably showing at home, or he's doing other forms of sensory behaviors also. So understanding a complete profile of the child, like what are the presentations that are standing out, we can actually come up with individualized strategies for each child that can be sort of discussed with the parents and parents can start doing very simple things. We are not talking about very advanced say understanding. Even if the parents they come from backgrounds where probably understanding sensory and trigger and stimulus and all that is a little complicated, we can simplify these things for them, and we can come up with simpler strategies which will substitute what self-stimulating sexually is doing for the child. See, most of the sensory behaviors or most of the sensory problems are handled by understanding the triggers and sort of countering them with socially acceptable or structurally formulated programs for the child that can be, say, done under the influence of a therapist or like a specialist who can come up with very problem-based solutions. So when we ask a question like this, it's although it's generalized because a lot of children do face it. Each child is probably demonstrating these behaviors because of one particular reason that might be unique to that child. So usually if you face say maybe 10 children in a classroom of 30 who are probably presenting, I would advise you to probably isolate them and have individual meetings with parents, have them say have access to somebody who can assess the child's sensory behaviors and tell parents how to handle certain aspects of it at home itself, so that that urge to express in the form of sexual stimulation in a public place without understanding the social norms comes down. So our OT is not available, but because we have a panel where we constantly do this with a lot of school-going children, I thought this answer would be a little helpful for you. But I think individually problem solving with each child is very important here, because what is causing it in one child might not be the reason for the other child. And understanding each of their sensory needs and formulating programs to accommodate them is very important.
Thank you, Priya.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your response.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And anybody else have any other questions? Okay. In the meantime, if we wait for the question, Swati, I have a question. Okay. So
Yeah.
yes. So we were discussing about how the children might have opposite gender favoritism when they are growing up, like a girl child with a father and if a male child with a mother or something like that. So what are the influences you
Right.
might give us? Like, for example, if there is only a single parent available, so would that be a cause of concern for them when they grow up with particularly one particular gender where they grow up with? Any ideas on this or your thoughts?
So here the problem here when we talk about the Oedipus complex or Electra complex that I was referring to
Yes, yes,
earlier,
yes.
right? So that is where the jealousy or seeking pleasure from one parent and jealousy with the other is what is developing. So I think that is not something which would affect the child if the child is growing with only one parent.
Okay.
However, right, so however having just one parent all to themselves and having a lot of attention from that person, it may lead to at some point of time, due to overprotectiveness, the child might develop certain kind of dependency or a kind of behavior where they are very dependent with other people on other
Yes,
people around them.
maybe like facing other genders would be a cause of concern or something like that.
I
Maybe
didn't get your
maybe
question.
facing another, maybe facing or maybe like communicating or facing other gender would be a problem. Is could be a problem as well.
No, that would not be part of the problem. As long as the child is being able to socially mingle with children and the in the latency stage where they do engage with people of the same gender, and
Yes.
little forward they start feeling attracted toward the opposite sex, right? So
Yes.
that is a stage where they would be developing all this through their social interaction and not only with the
Okay.
interaction happening at home.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Okay. So, any other parents have any other questions? Okay. So looks
Hello.
like, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. This is this is Radhika from Dr. Chandrasekhar Institute of Speech and Hearing.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
we deal with children below the age group of 5. Okay, and we do find this behavior in self-stimulating behavior with the children. So I would like to know if there are some strategies where we can try with these children so that they stop doing it, or how do we deal with it?
Joshua, I think that is a question for an occupational therapist again.
Yes, yes. Okay. Maybe yes. The Kruti is Radhika, ma'am, right? Hello.
Yeah, we both are there, so we both are
Okay.
having the same question.
Okay. Fine, ma'am. Okay. Maybe we will get back to you on the same. Maybe I think I have your number. Okay. Maybe you can. I will contact you back later, and I will try to answer you, because that is mostly related to occupational therapists who can able to answer it more better. Okay.
Okay, sir, you can get back to us on both the numbers.
Okay.
Any of the numbers also is fine.
Yes.
And
And Archana.
one more request is, can we have this recorded thing again, because we missed in the starting and
Okay.
we
Okay.
didn't want it.
Sure. I will try to arrange it, ma'am. And
Okay.
yeah, and I think Archana wants to say something.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can go, Archana.
Yeah. Hi. So you said that you deal with children of how old are they? 5 years, is it?
Less than 5.
Below 5 years.
Below
Less
5.
Below
than 5
5 years. And what kind of behaviors do they show, if I may know?
It's like they lie down on some surface and they start stimulating themselves,
Right.
or they go into the corner and start like any surface they find.
Right.
They lie
Right.
down and start stimulating, and parents do have the concern.
Right. So, like Swati already spoke about, first you have to individually profile. Even Priya spoke about this. You need to understand what is the kind of environment that is there at home, because this is a very, it's very related to psychology of and the environment that the child is growing up in. And how are they managing these situations at home? Are they scolding? Are they being aggressive about it? Because these might create negative reactions, and children might not understand that they are supposed to be doing this in a particular area under particular person's guidance, and they need to understand that there should be a lot of hygiene around it, and it is a very private thing. So one of the things that do work, especially with children on the spectrum, is visual scheduling, where you explain that these kind of activities can be done in a particular room at a particular time, especially in their own house if possible. And these have to be done at home as well. From the parent side, there needs to be a lot of support. So both you and the parent have to introduce the visual schedule to these children to make them understand that certain things have to be done in a certain place. And once visually represented, usually these children tend to retain that information and do things that are more socially acceptable. Do try that out. Do try and tell stories, use social stories for the same. Again, these are strategies from a speech language pathologist point of view, because we also see children coming in with these kind of behaviors, and parents are embarrassed and they ask us, oh, what do I do, he does this outside also. So why he does that outside is because, or she does that outside is because she's not getting that kind of release when she's supposed to. And that becomes more regulated when you have an understanding that it's a very private thing. So ultimately, you need to teach the child that it's a very, very private thing. And that can be done through these modes. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And if there is any query, I'll just get back to you.
Yes, please feel welcome to. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Archana, for that. And yes, so anybody else has any other questions? I think that should be fine. Okay. So if anybody else have any other questions, you can please message me to my number. I think most of you have it. If not, you can mail it to us at proerehab@gmail.com. That is also possible. Okay. So before we wind up, again, we would like to thank Swati for an excellent session again. So this was again very much helpful for all of us and for the parents also. So on behalf of our team and ourselves, like we would like to give a small token of appreciation by giving a lot like appreciation certificate for you for taking out your time and just sharing your knowledge with us. Okay, so thank you,
Thank you so
Swati.
much.
Yeah, thank you, Swati, and thank you for the parents for attending. Okay, so every Saturday we do a educational program, so please stay tuned for our next weekend's program as well. We will update in the group, so you can please send me your numbers and your mail IDs. Okay. So thank you again. So hope to see you next week. Bye bye.
So can you share your number so that we'll get in touch with you?
Yes. Just 1 minute.
The chat box you can share.
I'm just put in the chat box.
And we would like to be informed about your regular seminars so that I can ask the staff also to attend this.
Sure. Definitely. So you can please see in the chat box now. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay. So maybe everybody can, once you have seen the information and contact details, then you can leave. So we'll be just shutting down in another 2-3 minutes. Thank you, Swati, again. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Yeah, sure.